Many people hold a common fear. It is a cinematic scene etched into our minds. The engines of a great airliner fall silent. The plane then plummets from the sky. It falls like a stone thrown from a cliff. This image is dramatic, it is powerful, but it is also a complete myth. A modern airplane is not a simple rock. It is a marvel of aerodynamic engineering, designed with incredible precision and care. Its ability to fly is not solely dependent on the constant roar of its engines. The engines provide thrust, pushing the plane forward. Yet the wings are what truly give it the gift of flight, creating the lift that holds it aloft. This profound misunderstanding leads to unnecessary anxiety. The truth is far more reassuring. When an airliner loses engine power, it does not simply drop out of the air. It begins to glide. Think of it not as a fall, but as a controlled descent. The aircraft transforms from a powered machine into a very large, very sophisticated glider. It becomes a paper airplane, but one made of millions of pounds of metal, carrying hundreds of souls, and guided by the steady hands of highly trained pilots. This transition from powered flight to a silent glide is a fundamental principle of aviation. Gliding is a simple, elegant concept. It is the art of flying without a direct source of power. Birds do it instinctively. Eagles, albatrosses can soar for hours, using air currents to stay aloft with minimal effort. A child's paper airplane does it too. It uses the initial push from a hand to begin its journey, then gracefully glides until it touches the ground. A commercial airliner, despite its immense size and complexity, operates on the very same principle when its engines are not providing thrust. It uses the energy it already possesses, its potential energy, stored in its altitude, to continue its flight forward and downward. This transformation of energy is the key to understanding a glide. Imagine a cyclist at the top of a very tall hill. Without pedaling, the cyclist can coast all the way to the bottom. Gravity pulls the bike and rider down the slope, and this pull creates forward motion. The higher the hill, the farther the cyclist can coast. An airplane in a glide is doing the exact same thing, but its hill is the air itself. The plane is constantly descending on a very gentle, invisible slope. Gravity provides the pull, which the aircraft's aerodynamic design converts into forward speed, just as the cyclist coasts downhill. The pilot is not a helpless passenger during this process. They are in full control. To understand just how far a plane can glide, we must introduce a simple but crucial concept: the glide ratio. This term may sound technical, but its meaning is straightforward. The glide ratio is a number that tells us how far an aircraft can travel forward for every unit of altitude it descends. It is often expressed as a pair of numbers, such as 15:1. This means, for every 1 mile the airplane drops vertically, it can travel 15 miles horizontally, assuming no wind. Think of it like a ramp. A short, steep ramp has a low glide ratio. A long, gentle ramp has a high glide ratio. A glider, a plane built to fly without an engine, is like a very long, very gentle ramp. Some high-performance gliders can have glide ratios of 60:1 or even 70:1. A commercial airliner, on the other hand, is built for speed and carrying capacity, not pure gliding efficiency. Its wings are designed differently, so its ramp is steeper. Even so, a modern passenger jet's glide ratio is surprisingly good, for a typical large airliner like a Boeing 777. Now let's take the concept of the glide ratio and apply it to a realistic scenario. A commercial airliner typically cruises at altitudes 30,000 feet, 40,000 feet. For our example, let's use 35,000 feet. This height is our potential energy, the fuel for our glide. To make the math simple, we convert feet into miles because our glide ratio gives distance in miles. There are 5,280 feet in a mile, so quick division. 35,000 feet is approximately 6.6 miles high. Starting at 6.6 miles, we use a conservative glide ratio of 15:1. The calculation is simple multiplication. Multiply 6.6 by 15. That gives us 99 miles. A typical airliner, losing all engine power at cruise, can potentially glide nearly 100 miles before touching down. Imagine a 100-mile radius, a vast circle of landing options. 100 miles is New York City to Philadelphia. It's also the distance from London to Birmingham. Within a 100-mile radius over populated land, there are dozens of airports and even hundreds of airports and airfields. This range gives pilots a real wealth of options. Real-world incidents provide the most powerful proof of these principles. One of the most famous events in aviation history, Air Canada Flight 143, a Boeing 767. The Gimli Glider, the nickname. On July 23, 1983, cruising at 41,000 feet over central Canada. The jetliner ran completely out of fuel, a series of ground-based errors, a metric versus imperial conversion mistake. One by one, the cockpit alarms chimed. Then both powerful engines fell silent. The aircraft was now a 132-ton glider. Captain Robert Bob Pearson, First Officer Maurice Quintal. They had a brand new advanced aircraft with no power, but they also had their training, their skill, and the aircraft's inherent aerodynamic stability. Captain Pearson was an experienced glider pilot, a stroke of luck. He knew how to handle an aircraft with no thrust, instinctively understanding the need to find the optimal glide speed to maximize their range. They immediately began their controlled descent, trading altitude for distance. Their target was Winnipeg, but their calculations showed they would not make it. They were descending too quickly and would fall short. First Officer Quintal, a former military pilot, had an idea. He knew of a former Royal Canadian Air Force base at Gimli, which was closer. It was not on their commercial charts, but it was their best and only hope. Section 6. The Miracle on the Hudson, a story of skill and glide. A more recent and widely known incident cemented an airliner's gliding ability. On January 15, 2009, U.S. Airways Flight 1549 took off from LaGuardia. Minutes later, at only 2,800 feet, the A320 hit a flock of Canada geese. Both engines suffered catastrophic bird strike damage and immediately lost thrust. The plane became a glider over densely populated Manhattan. The pilots remained impeccably calm. Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger, First Officer Jeffrey Skiles. Captain Sullenberger took control and flew at best glide speed. They had seconds to decide. Air traffic control suggested returning to LaGuardia or diverting to Teterboro. Sullenberger assessed they couldn't reach a runway. He made a bold call.
We're going to be in the Hudson.
He chose the long, flat Hudson River as the safest option. The landing was masterful. The aircraft landed intact and floated like a boat. Crew evacuated all 155 people onto the wings. Every single person survived. Section 7. Not all glides are equal factors that change the distance. While the glide ratio gives us a fantastic baseline for how far a plane can travel, the actual distance is influenced by several real-world factors. One of the most important factors is the wind. A strong headwind, blowing against the direction of flight, acts like an invisible wall. It reduces the aircraft's speed over the ground, effectively steepening its glide path and drastically shortening the distance it can cover. Conversely, a tailwind can be a pilot's best friend in a glide. A wind blowing from behind the aircraft pushes it along, increasing its ground speed. This allows the plane to cover more horizontal distance for the same amount of altitude lost, effectively extending its glide range. The aircraft's weight is another crucial variable. A heavier aircraft has more momentum and will want to fly faster. To maintain its best glide speed, a heavier plane will have a slightly higher rate of descent compared to a lighter one. This means it will reach the ground more quickly. However, because it is also flying faster, it covers ground more quickly as well. The fascinating result is that the glide ratio itself, the ratio of forward distance to altitude lost, remains nearly the same regardless of weight. Finally, the pilot's actions are paramount. Pilots train extensively in simulators to manage these factors, learning to fly the aircraft smoothly and precisely to extract every possible foot of gliding distance when it matters most. Section 8. The pilot's role, more than just a passenger. In the silent moments after engine failure, the role of the pilot transforms, but also intensifies. They are the calm center of a complex system, the human element that brings together training, experience, the aircraft's capabilities. Their first actions are methodical and drilled into them through countless hours of simulator training. The mantra is aviate, navigate, communicate. First and foremost, they must fly the airplane. Next comes navigation. With the aircraft stable, pilots must immediately determine where they can go. Eyes scan the horizon for airports. They instantly begin calculating gliding range, creating a mental circle of possibilities. Identify the most suitable landing site within that circle, considering runway length, terrain, weather. This is a critical decision-making process under immense pressure. Pilots are trained to handle it logically and without panic. Only after controlling the aircraft and plotting a course do they focus on communication. Section 9. A calmer truth why you can feel secure in the sky. The image of a plane falling from the sky is a fiction, a ghost story we tell ourselves about flying. The reality is far less dramatic and infinitely more reassuring. An airplane is, at its core, a glider. Its wings are designed to fly. They will continue to do so as long as the aircraft has speed and altitude. The engines provide the power to climb cruise efficiently, but they are not the sole reason the plane stays in the air. Understanding this fundamental truth can help replace fear with a sense of calm and confidence. From a typical cruising altitude, a modern jetliner can glide for 100 miles or more. This is not a short, desperate plunge, but a long, controlled flight that can last for 15 to 20 minutes. This gift of time and distance provides pilots with options. They are not helpless. They are in command of a highly capable aircraft using their extensive training to navigate to safety. Real-world events, like the Gimli glider, the Miracle on the Hudson, are not flukes. They are powerful demonstrations of this built-in resilience.